Perek Aleph, Mishna Daled. So we saw previously in last Mishnah that this korah beam, the cross beam, that they would use to close off the mavoi, needed to have a minimal width of 1 tefach, which gives it a sense of permanence and shows that someone placed it there with deliberance, and therefore it acts as a recognition between the Rishus Harabim and the mavoi. And if you remember from last Mishnah, the reason why the korah needs to have a width of 1 tefach is because you could then place an areach, you could then place a half a brick on it. You could place a half a brick on it, and therefore you could build on it. It's a crossbeam that looks like it was placed there deliberately to build with. It doesn't look like someone put it there just haphazardly. And so the Tanakama in our Mishnah is going to rule that it not only has to be wide enough to hold this areach, this half a brick, but it has to be strong enough that if you place the half brick on top of it, it won't crack. And that gives it a sense of permanence. So let's read that inside. Rechava, it needs to have a width. The crossbeam needs to have a width. Kidei lekabel areach, in order to accept a half a brick on it. Ubrio, and it also has to be strong enough, kidei lekabel areach, in order to accept a half a brick on it. Meaning not only does it need to have the space of a tefach to hold a brick, but it actually has to be strong enough. The crossbeam has to be strong enough to hold that brick, and that gives it a sense of permanence. Now Rabbi Yehuda argues with this. Rabbi Yehuda says, Rechava, it needs a width, Afal pi, even though she'ein bria, it's not actually strong enough to actually hold the half a brick. Meaning, even if the crossbeam looks like it's wide enough to hold the brick, even though it can't actually hold it because it's not strong enough to, that's good enough to act as a recognition between the Rishus Harabim and the Mavoi. It doesn't need to actually be strong enough to be able to hold that half a brick. Now, for Psak Halacha, we don't paskin like Rabbi Yehuda, and we maintain that the korah crossbeam does need to be strong enough to hold this half a brick. Now it's your turn to read the Mishnah.